Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So first off, let's get this out of the way. If you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe, turn on post notifications so that you don't miss when I post any of these videos. If you guys are all like entradas into the story, then you gotta make sure to subscribe. And then if you have any friends, go ahead and tell them to subscribe to me too. Turn on post notifications like I said, that way you are notified every single time I post, because when I do these videos, I make them private like every few hours, because you know, I want people to subscribe to me. I do want people to subscribe to me at the end of the day, like, so you know, I do make these videos private here and there, so when you're subscribed to me, you're notified as soon as I post them. You can watch it, and that's that. So subscribe if you're not subscribed. Also, of course, every single time that these videos get 300 likes, you know, I will post the next video Wednesday. I am a day late on this, you guys. Sorry, but you know, me pasé de verguita of taking the kids to Disneyland and all these other places, so then I didn't have this video filmed, and then I filmed it late, and then you know, that makes me edit late, so it was all over the place. I'm super sorry. Last time it happens, I promise. Get another thing out of the way. Firmoo sent me these glasses to go ahead and review, and you know what, I like them. I've never owned any of these like fake reading glasses, fashion, you know, glasses, but these are the first ones and I really like them, so go ahead and check out Firmoo. Also, another really cool thing about them is if you do actually wear, like, if you need glasses, then you can choose any style from their website, and they have really cute ones. They have these, they have a bunch of other cute ones, and you can pretty much put your prescription onto them. So they are reviewed like very well, so don't worry about no fake business. Like, they're legit, they're awesome, so go check them out. So yeah, so go check out Firmoo. I'm gonna take off the glasses just so that the reflection's not blinding you guys, but I did want to talk to you guys about the glasses, so I wanted to have them on to talk to you guys about them. So yeah, make sure you guys grab your snacks for these videos, because I don't know about you guys, but for like long story times, I need snacks. Okay, so last week I left off in telling you guys about the whole situation that happened in 9th grade. Recap on that. So, you know, there was this girl. She went up to me one day during, it was a passing period. And the school that I went to Wilson High School. The way it is the buildings are all like on top of the campus, and then it's like the football field, and then there's the bleachers. But it's like built in bleachers. I don't know how to explain. I don't know. That's like the best I can explain it. You go down those bleachers, and then there's like bungalows. There's bungalows all in the bottom area. So I was going down. I was going down to one of my classes, and this girl was going up to one of her classes, or I don't know if she was really going up to one of the classes, or she just wanted to, like, she just knew that's where she would see me. But she like kind of stopped me, and she, like I said, she was really big. She's like, "Hey Velica." I was like, "What's up?" She's like, my homegirl needs to talk to you." And I was like, "Okay, tell your homegirl that I'm here during lunch." I told her where I would hang out. She's like, "Okay." So in between that time, you know, I was texting my cousin and I was telling her what was going on, and this girl that, you know, that told me that her homegirl wanted to talk to me, she wasn't very like gangster, like she wasn't a chola, but the people that she hung around with were. So I was already telling my cousin, like, "Oh, there's these cholas that are probably gonna go up to me during lunch." My cousin was like, "Alright, well, me and my friends," my cousin was a senior at the time, she was like, "Me and my friends will go, and we'll be in where you hang out, just in case anything happens." I was like, "Okay." The girl went up to me and she told me that, she's like, "Hey, so I heard you were talking to my boyfriend." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I don't even know who your boyfriend is." And she's like, yeah, well, I saw him liking your pictures on MySpace." At that time it was MySpace, you know. And I was like, "Okay, well, yeah, like, I'm not talking to him." And she still, like, she didn't care. She didn't hear me out at all. She was like, "Well, if I see him liking your pictures, like, I'm gonna beat your ass." I was like, "Okay." Like, what else can I say? I can't be like, "Oh my god, don't beat my ass." Like, I was like, okay. A few days later, like I mentioned in my last story time, the parents were those parents that would literally be waiting for me outside of school, like before the bell rang. But this particular day, for some reason, my dad wasn't there. And I had called him and I was like, ¿Dónde estás, papá? And he's like, oh yeah, I voy un poquito tarde, pero ahorita llego. I was like, okay. And he's like, espérame ahí enfrente. I was like, okay. So I was there chilling, waiting, right? Out of nowhere, I see that girl who originally, you know, told me that her homegirl wanted to talk to me. And I saw all her friends behind her and they were walking towards me. And I was like, oh my god, no. Because these girls never hung, like they were never there. They literally always ditched like after second period. They were never there. So I was like, oh my god. Like I already knew something was going to happen. They just started walking up like towards me. One of the girls had her phone with her, like recording. The other girl had her hand in her like sweater pocket, and they just started getting closer to me and closer to me. And then the girl told me, so what's up? I thought I told you that if I caught my man liking your pictures, I was gonna fuck you up. And I was like, well, like there's nothing I can do about it. Like what do you want me to do? And she pulled out something from her pocket, and it was a shank. It was like a homemade kind of knife thing. It was like a razor tied onto, it was a shank. And she got super close to me. This shank was literally like right here. I'm not kidding you, it was right here. And thank God when this happened, one of the deans was outside. It wasn't a dean, it was like a faculty. Like, you know those I don't know if it was just my high school, but there was these like young people who worked there. They were probably like in their mid-20s, and they were the ones who would kind of like watch out, like kind of take care of stuff outside. And it was a girl she saw, and she like right away ran towards me and she said, hey. So then they all saw her and they all ran, and she grabbed me from my arm. You have to come inside with me. So she took me into the office, and then I was like, my dad's waiting for me outside, or he was supposed to be coming any minute now. And she was like, don't worry about your dad, we're gonna call him right now. And she's like, just stay here, relax, you know, just chill. I was like, okay. And I was like terrified as fuck. Like I thought I was gonna die. I didn't know what the hell was gonna happen to me. Like I didn't know. So I was sitting there, called my parents, and they told them what was going on. And my dad's like, okay, I'm parking, I'm about to go in. And my dad went into the office, and it was the dean. It was a dean and the principal and then the staff member. Staff said what happened, and then the dean said, he gave me different options. He's like, at this point, your safety is like our biggest concern. And I don't know about your parents, but you know, if it were up to me, I wouldn't want my child in the school where I know stuff like this is happening. And I was like, okay, but I don't understand how it's my fault. Like, why am I gonna want to leave for something that, you know, I didn't do? Like, I'm gonna lose all my friends. Like, whatever I'm doing in my classes, like, it's just gonna be lost. Like, why am I the one that has to suffer over something that, you know, I'm not doing? And he's like, well, we could, two main girls, we can expel them. We can expel them, but the thing is that they leave behind a bunch of friends. That group is a clique, and I can't expel them all because they all didn't do something. Those two main girls I can expel, but they're all gonna leave behind a group of friends, and you know, it's just gonna keep on happening. They're gonna try to retaliate over their friends getting, you know, kicked out of the school. I was like, okay, I understand that. I just don't see, like, it sucks, you know, it sucks. So he's like, well, so the option, is my eyelash falling off? So the option that I can give you is I can transfer you out to the school of your choice. You can tell me what school you want to go to. I can send everything over and it can be the school of your choice. So I was like, okay. So then we started talking about schools, and my dad was like terrified. He didn't even want me to go to school anymore. At this point, I don't even know what I really wanted. I was thinking about Fidel at this point, like, oh my god, what school does Fidel go to? I knew what school he went to, and I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna go to that school. But then I was like, do I really want to go to that school? But I was like, okay, let's do it. So at this time, Fidel went to Roosevelt High School. So I told the principal, okay, what about Roosevelt? And he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure we can do Roosevelt. So let me go ahead and, you know, do something, stay home as of now, and then we'll work on all the paperwork. When the paperwork is ready, you can come pick it up, and then you can take it to that school. I was like, okay, sounds good. It took about like 3 days or so, and then we went to go pick up the paperwork from there, and then we took it to Roosevelt. But at Roosevelt, they were going to start me, I think it was C-Track, because Roosevelt was tracks. C-Track didn't start for another like 2 weeks. So in the meantime, I didn't want to be missing like schoolwork and stuff that I could have been doing. So my parents signed me up for like an adult school program, which was kind of like it was pretty close to Wilson. And I was in that continuation school, and literally I was just doing, you know, keeping up with my work just so I wouldn't kind of like lose, you know, my zen in what I was doing in school, because at this time I was like super entrada into my work. Like that's what I was there for, and that was that. What sucks too was in the midst of all this was when I was doing all my preparations for my quinceañera. So like the friendships I had built at Wilson now were like pretty much X'd out because I didn't even know them for a long time. And then I was moving to this new school where I didn't know anybody, and then in that summer was my quinceañera. So I was like, oh my god, this was horrible, horrible, horrible timing. Those 2 weeks passed by and I was able to start school at Roosevelt. So the first day that I took my paperwork, I think it was like during lunch when the paperwork was done and I had to take like papers to the teachers I was going to be having. And my dad was going with me because at this time I wasn't really like kind of enrolled yet. We were walking to one of my classes, and me and Fidel literally walked past each other, and he kind of looked at me and he kind of like smiled, and I just gave him the ugliest look. I was like, who are you kind of look. He just kept walking, and that was it. You know, I started school. My first class I was taking, I think it was English, and I don't know what it is, but like I was very, very, very disliked at Roosevelt. At Wilson, a lot of people liked me, and at Roosevelt, everyone like hated me. Like nobody liked me. It sucked. Like that first day of my class, you know, I went into my English class, and the teacher told me to introduce myself, and I was like, my name is Velica. I just transferred here from Wilson. I'm 14, and yeah, like I didn't say anything crazy for people to not like me. And literally as soon as I sat down, I saw like these girls in the corner kind of just talking and whispering amongst each other and kind of like laughing, and I was like, okay. I didn't pay attention to it because I wanted this to be like drama free, just because of that situation I had at my old school. I was like, I don't want to deal with drama anymore. Like I don't want to put my dad through this, like just drama free. So I was like, okay, just ignore it. So I ignored. I went about my high school life. And remember guys, at this time my mom is going through like chemotherapy. I had my MySpace, and I think I had my Facebook already. And this boy who lived in El Monte, he messaged me. He was like, hey, he had a very like different kind of approach, because like I said, I did have a lot of like, I had a large following, a large like friend amount on the internet. So I would get a lot of messages from guys, and I never replied, or the ones I would reply to were kind of like, eh. It was just never anything like serious, just because, you know, guys, I knew how guys were, and I didn't want to put myself in a situation, especially after what happened with Fidel and stuff. So I was like, I don't want to put myself out there. I wouldn't respond to anyone, but this one boy in particular, he was from El Monte, and he just had a very different approach. Like he kind of was like, kind of making me not feel better, but it was like he cared. Like he genuinely cared about me and stuff, and he told me that, you know, he heard that my mom has cancer, and if I need anybody to talk to, that he was there. It caught my attention, and I was like, oh hey. I was like, where do you know me from? And he's like, no, I've been your friend on here for a while. He's like, so we should hang out sometime. And I was like, whoa, like, what's your name? How old are you? You know, all of that. At the time, I was 14. He told me he was 13. But I didn't think it was a big deal. It was like, well, 1 year. We just kept talking. I didn't hang out with him. We would just talk here and there, talk here and there. And then it just started getting to, like, us talking a lot. Like, a lot. Things just, they progressed really quickly. Like, we went from talking, like, once a week to talking every other day, and then to talking like every day. And I really grew to like him. So I had gone through a lot with Fidel, and you know, even though me and Fidel weren't like super serious, I didn't want to hurt anyone anymore. I was at a much like better place, and I just didn't want to put someone else through what I put Fidel through. I didn't want to get really serious with this guy just because, you know, I wasn't allowed to go out. My parents were really strict, and I wasn't allowed to go out, so I didn't want to get serious if I really couldn't get serious. So I just didn't want to be with someone who didn't go to the same school as me, because then I really wouldn't see them. I really grew to like this guy, and I just didn't want to put that completely, like I didn't want to throw that away. So I kept talking to him. I didn't let him know, you know, that things were like exclusive, or that I was, you know, putting myself on hold for him. But I did tell him I like him, which was the truth, but I was kind of keeping my options open. At this time, you know, there was this guy who started going to my school. This guy didn't go to my school. He just like, he would like volunteer there. He was older. I think he was like he had graduated 2 years prior to that. So I was a 10th grader, and he was like 4 years older than me. Like straight off the bat, he approached me and he said I was cute, and that, you know, he wanted to get to know me, and we exchanged phone numbers, and we would text here and there, and things progressed there, and he asked me out. Let this guy from El Monte know what was going on, and you know, he respected it, but we still kept in contact, and I started going out with this guy. And things got very serious really quickly. End of 10th grade came. I was now an 11th grader, and we were really serious. We would go out. At this point, I told my brother, like, I don't think it's cool that I'm not allowed to go out. You know, I'm already an 11th grader, and I'm not allowed to go out at all. So he's like, don't worry, like, I'm probably gonna go down this weekend, because my brother did live in San Bernardino, and he let me know he was gonna come down on the weekend, and he was gonna talk to my parents. And he did. He came down on the weekend, like he said, and he talked to my parents, and he let them know, like, you don't want her to feel trapped. You don't want her to take any inch of freedom you do give her eventually and just run with that. Like, you know, give her her freedom. And my parents agreed with it, but there were rules, you know, like I had curfews, and it was a really strict curfew. I think my curfew was like 10 o'clock. So I would go out during the day, and that was completely fine with me. I didn't really care. So yeah, you know, I went out with this guy. I introduced him to my dad, and my dad did not like him. Like I said, he was older. He had tattoos. So my dad didn't like him. But this guy, you know, I'm not gonna lie, this guy was a really nice guy. I wasn't in love with him. I was in love with this other guy, but I was just so deep into the relationship with this guy that, you know, I couldn't get out of it to talk to the guy from El Monte. I just couldn't do that. So I had to let it fall out in a way that, you know, I just wouldn't feel guilty about it, because I did have feelings for him. I just wasn't in love with him. Things just got very serious, and one day I told him I didn't want to be in school. I texted him, I was like, I really don't want to be in school today. And he's like, okay, well, why don't you just come to my house? And I was like, okay. I ditched school to go to his house, and he lived really close to my high school. So I went to his house, and we had sex. So I was an 11th grader. So I lost my virginity to this guy who I was in a relationship with, and, you know, it was consensual. Like, it was a mutual thing, you know, we agreed to do it. I don't know, it just wasn't what I expected my first time to be. Like I said, I wasn't in love with him, and I mean, I felt like I was ready, but I was still very naive. I was a very naive person. I just felt like, you know, he was older, he knew what he was doing, he was going to take care of me. I wasn't on birth control because I just hadn't had any sort of relationships prior to that. We did it, and I just felt very guilty afterwards, because I felt like I was kind of letting my parents down. Like, I had thought in my head that I was going to wait until I graduated high school to kind of lose my virginity. So I just felt very bad about it, and I broke up with him. Like, right after we did that, I broke up with him, and I started talking to this guy from El Monte. And, you know, we would talk, and he asked me out, and I said yeah. He picked me up from my house, and we actually went out. I just started going out with him, and, you know, we were really, like, kind of feeling each other. Well, one day I felt very sick, and I told my sister that, you know, I think something is wrong with me. And she's like, why? And I was like, well, I don't feel very well. And she's like, why? What's happening? And I told her what happened. I told her I lost my virginity, and that I don't think he used any sort of protection. And I wasn't, you know, on any sort of like birth control. And she's like, oh my god, Velica, like let's just hope it's not that. And her and my brother-in-law went to CVS and they bought me a pregnancy test. And they came home and I took the pregnancy test. I went into the bathroom. It was very secretive, like we're hiding it from my parents. And I took the pregnancy test and it was positive. So I was an 11th grader and I had just taken a pregnancy test and it came out positive. And I just don't, the last thing that came to my head was like abortion. I didn't think of it. I just thought like I'm gonna have to figure this out, and you know, I'm gonna have to tell him, and I'm just gonna have to write this out, you know. There was different plans because I still feel very, very guilty talking about this, and this is for anyone who is in this situation or whoever goes through the situation. You know, follow your gut. Like, don't let other people's feelings kind of dictate what you want to do, because it's gonna haunt you for the rest of your life. So she told my sister told me we had to tell my parents, and I was like, no, don't tell my mom. I don't want to tell my mom. You know, my mom was still going through chemotherapy and radiation. I was like, don't tell her. Like, I don't want her to know anything. And she's like, okay, well, we need to tell my dad because we need to figure out what's gonna happen. And I was like, okay. So we told my dad, and my dad flipped out, and he told me that I could not have the baby and that I was crazy if I thought that that was gonna happen. After he basically told me my only option, he told me, what are you gonna do? And I was like, well, I don't want to have an abortion. I don't want to do that, you know. Like, I was dumb enough to get in this situation. Like, I need to figure it out. I don't see myself having another option. I don't see me giving myself another option. And he called my brother, and my brother basically told me that if I had that baby, that I could forget about him and I could forget about my nieces and nephews. And then basically I would be breaking the family. And then he told me, like, you're gonna kill my mom. We'll let you guys know next week, Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So again, if you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe. Give this video 300 thumbs up so we can go to the next story time next Wednesday. So if it hits 300 thumbs up by Sunday, the next video will be up on Wednesday at 7 o'clock Pacific time. Leave comments down below, leave feedback. You know, the more feedback the videos get, the more into it or more on top of it I'm gonna be to, you know, be bringing you guys these videos on, like, on my game. This video was, it's a little touchy. I know I'm gonna be judged. Like I said, every name you guys can call me because of what I did, I've already called myself. I've already grown from it. Like I said, I do feel guilty. I still feel guilty, but I've grown from it and I've moved on. But like I mentioned in my last video, everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and I respect that. Just make sure that when you have an opinion, make sure you respect me. You don't call me out my name, you know. If you're gonna call me anything, just don't call me any sort of derogatory names, you know. But thank you guys for watching today's video. Make sure you give it a big thumbs up and leave feedback down below. Like I said, I'll see you guys next Wednesday.